Carolyn, thank you for joining me on Telile 24/7 today.
Thank you very much, Adam.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Can you give me a sense, first of all, as to why you've decided to run for municipal council in Richmond County? What led you to make that decision?
Well, I think what led me to it is basically the support of my daughter and my mother to begin with, because I knew it was going to happen, this election. I'd heard that there would be an election, and in the middle of a pandemic. And so I didn't see myself initially as a candidate, but actually I was home while my daughter came from another province, and we were together for 2 weeks. And what happened was we basically started listening to the conference, the Women's Leadership Conference, and we were talking about the issues and talking about Ilma Dam. And my daughter's often heard me talk about municipal issues in other places I've lived. And then she just turned to me and said, well, why aren't you running? And it was my first sort of jolt thinking, why don't I see who is running? If there's another person from the conference that might want to step forward in my district. And so when I found that maybe I would be the only women candidate on this island running, I felt the responsibility to highlight some of the issues that we have here and just put myself forward. My mother reminded me, you've got a background in this, you've certainly always been involved in community groups wherever you've lived, and I think you should do it. And so together we came up with sort of a plan. How would I do this in a pandemic? And we thought, well, we'd have to go door to door. And that was very helpful having my mother on board, because I call it the Blanche-mobile. We were together, and she was taking notes, and I was driving, and then we'd stop at places she would usually recommend to stop first, because she's been here for 50 years, even though she's from Shetty Camp, which is part of Cape Breton, so she's French Canadian, and I'm also rooted in this community. I'm Irish and French Canadian, French Acadian and Irish, excuse me. And so here we were, sort of planning this. How are we going to go about and listen to people? And that's what we did. And we tried as well. If we saw anyone on a property outside, I immediately stopped and started talking to that person if they were willing to talk to me. And I just found it really warm, and it just opened up my eyes to a lot of what this community has to offer. I mean, I think obviously there's many people already involved in committee work and in community volunteering, but I think some people really felt, no one really asked them what they thought about a particular area that they love in their community, and also just going to people's homes and going to their properties and them showing me what kind of view they had. I just have a whole different perspective on the island, and I'm going to always treasure that.
It sounds like this has been a wonderful reconnection to you to Ilma Dam. Can you tell me a little bit about your family history here and about your roots in this area? Can you paint a picture of that for me?
Yes, thank you very much. It does help when campaigning that my father was a teacher for many years at the school, and my mother has been living in the community with my father for over 50 years. So she also knows so many people at the school, and she worked there for about 20 or so years as a paraprofessional. And so she was in the cafeteria. And it's amazing that she'll just be recognized right now. She on the street, and she won't recognize who's saying hello at first, but then as soon as they let her know, I'm from such and such a year, and you were in the school when I was in the school, and there's a big light that turns on. So that's been really lovely for both of us.
Now, at this point of the interview, some of you may be wondering why I'm interviewing Carolyn Clackdoyle at Pondville Provincial Park Beach. Here's Carolyn herself to give the answer.
Well, actually, the reason I asked Adam if we could come to the beach is because I've always found a lot of centering and reflection, and this is a place to kind of de-stress. And I think I think of it as our sand sidewalk, that whoever you are, like all over Ilma Dam and from away as well, or if we have visitors, we make it here. And whether it's morning or evening, there will be people walking on this beach, and you will be able to say hello and sometimes recognize people or meet someone new. So it's it's got its own opportunity to bring the community together.
On the topic of bringing the community together, candidate Clackdoyle told us that there are a lot of community organizations that have attracted her attention since she started returning to Isle Madame over the past couple of years.
Each time I came back to participate in coalitions that were already formed here. So like the Seniors Take Action Coalition, I was at the Louisdale Parish Hall, and I saw the seniors around. There was a lunch provided and there was speakers, and I was hearing that the problems of being supported in the home, so that you wouldn't have to leave the home if you needed maintenance help, or if in fact your finances were very stressed. And that was before the pandemic. And so now that has been exacerbated during the pandemic, in the sense that there isn't as many activities for seniors to do. It was already an issue of isolation, and also in participation in the community. And I think when I look at sort of amenities, like what's on the beach or what's in our parks, for example, what's on our trails, if there isn't places people can sit and restroom facilities nearby, and having accessible areas where you could push a stroller, where you could come by wheelchair, then you're not going to have the whole family involved. There's actually also plenty of visitors, right, that would come and wouldn't have, they might be in a car with people of different needs, and they won't have that welcome if we don't provide it. So that gives you an example. So Seniors Take Action Coalition, but also there was a farm conference held at Discoos Groundswell, and that happened at the beginning of this year, and I was part of that. And I saw everyone contribute to showing us what could be possible with food security in Cape Breton and in our region. That there's already people working on this. We just need to throw our arms around them and find opportunities to purchase things that are local. And I saw some amazing collaboration between people, and ideas about producing things that would be very complementary for the farmers markets.
So essentially you feel that you can translate your experience with these community organizations into solid service for the county as a councillor.
Yes, I would think so. I think those coalitions that are already formed here, there was an emergency management, for example, group that met at the Lion's Den by the arena in Louisdale, and I was also attending that. And what was very interesting there is that was before the pandemic, and there was a whole issue of comfort stations. How do we transport people when an event happens, an unusual weather event or power outage in the winter? How do we, again, wrap our arms around needs in the community? And I thought there was a lot of very good ideas. So again, I would be working with the communities and the committees that are already working on this.
For the next portion of our interview with District 2 Council candidate Carolyn Clackdoyle, we've shifted from Pondville to Martinique Provincial Park. So, Ms. Clackdoyle, why are we here?
Well, in going door to door, over the span of a week recently, it was a theme that resonated with everyone on all the districts. Is we have this beautiful park, and there's an opportunity here to welcome visitors to it. There's some challenges. Right now we basically have an off-the-grid situation. We don't have a dumping station. We don't have well water. And but maybe this is something that could creatively be imagined, if not through government exclusively, maybe involving the private sector in some way. These were ideas that came from the community. So I wanted to highlight as well that the location we are is where you see our historical sister communities right across the water, and how accessible they are. So I look forward to working with everyone who comes onto the municipal table, if I'm elected, to work on the strategic plan together, and maybe make a little bit of changes if we need to reflect what we've been hearing in the election.
Speaking of Richmond County's strategic plan, I note that a lot of your professional experience over the years has been in the planning sector. Can you describe that a little bit and tell us how you could apply it practically if elected in District 2?
Well, I'm a little bit geeky because that's what plans do, is they kind of give you a story through numbers, through data, through trends, through a sort of a deep look at the community in many ways, geographically, socially, economically. And so you kind of see how maybe the lens of what a potential business person would coming into the community want to know, and also what we need to know in order to meet needs here. We need that kind of information. On the other hand, as a planner, working as a planner, I certainly see the value and the importance of community consultation and how that's done, getting the community's voice into the story. And it can be done so creatively, and this is our challenge too, of bringing the community into the plan so that it really reflects their priorities, what they want to have happen in their community, and to meet the needs.
Does the basic process of strategic planning work during a pandemic? We have seen difficult years for Richmond County's tourism sector, for its small business sector, and for life in general throughout the county. Are there ways that these issues can be addressed during a pandemic, especially given the uncertainty surrounding a second wave?
Well, this is I think, a really opportune time. And speaking with people in my district, how they put it was, let's plan the party now, the post-pandemic party. Well, we can take that a step further and say, yeah, let's do the preparation here for the welcome. And that also means welcoming each other. Because as we try to grow in resilience during the pandemic, because we don't really know how quickly the economy can rebound and what kind of economy exactly it will be, to be able to welcome each other is a strength. And for example, the age-friendly plan reminds us that housing people and meeting their needs, their health needs and care needs is an economy. There's people involved in that kind of care, and we must meet human needs, and the needs of the relationships that we have ecologically, so that we don't do damage. We do actually prevention, which seems to be the focus of the age-friendly plan. I'm really quite excited about it. I thought it was well done with a lot of collaboration, and I understand there will be a team with the counselor being part of that, and I think that's something that I certainly would like to work with.
As we wound down our conversation in Martinique, I asked District 2 Council candidate Carolyn Clackdoyle who inspires her as she seeks to continue her public service, possibly with an election to Richmond Council.
Well, I thought maybe I'd mention someone who volunteered in the community. It was abroad. It was in France, a small rural community where I was living. And his job was to welcome immigrant families, students who were from immigrant families, and help them learn the language and just acclimate to the culture. And so we were part of that, because I had to learn French in France to really learn to speak it, and so did my children and my family. So we were kind of welcomed to sort of on a personal level with this gentleman, but he got me involved in a regional plan for linking trails, and they became it started with bicycle trails, and we really didn't know where we were going at the time. And so this was really interesting for me, because it was how the community sorts through these things, and there was how effective it is when you have a really good champion who, like him, this particular gentleman, in the evenings, he had a vision that the trail system should be accessible to all ages, that whatever we would develop. And so what we did is we did things that were fun, that involved the community, and we met and we did trails that weren't actually designated trails, but we check things out, and so we can make recommendations like how suitable is that, and how suitable is that for a family, for kids. And we had ride-alongs and burleys with us, and we had we also went to other parts of France who had better amenities. And as we were going along, we would see somebody pulling a senior on the back of a bike, and we saw recently, actually, in Ottawa, I saw the same thing. A senior was on the front of a bike. So there's a lot of possibilities for innovation and development of things if you're sure what the vision is. And this gentleman for me was really inspiring because even though he had cancer and right to the end, he was such a very strong spokesman for how important it was to have this linkage so that everyone would have something to do no matter where you lived in our region, and you could go visit the other region. And so maybe that would stimulate, at the time we were thinking maybe that would stimulate more ideas with bicycle tourism and little events along the way. So I'm very much looking forward now to really looking at the ATV trails that we do have and say, what are the points of interest and how can they be made, some of the trails, amenable to a lot of other people and doing different things on it. And it's part of the age-friendly plan to include people of all ages in whatever project that you have and whatever idea you have.
We've covered a lot of ground today, both literally and figuratively. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this interview up?
Oh, I just really appreciate you coming out and agreeing to stopping a few of the sites that we have in Elmadam and that's in my district. I'm going to be sending out a flyer soon, and hopefully before the early voting, so that you can see that I have been listening. I will be listening if you vote for me, and I really do care about your vision of the community. Thank you.